Sold an old SUV once. It was running and mostly drivable, but needed either very expensive parts, very expensive professional repairs, a matter of equipment more than skill, or an expensive modification to keep it on the road. That combined with me really needing a truck bed meant it was time to list the old girl on Craigslist. I listed it for $500. I got a call asking if I'd sell it for $200. I told the guy no, I could get $200 for the rims and fairly new tires on it. He responded that then obviously I'd have a 2.5-ton hunk of metal in my driveway. To which I responded that I could continue to part the thing out until it was cost-effective for me to pay someone to haul it off. I didn't want to put in the work, so I'm selling it in one piece for $500. Thank you very much. Well, no one can make any money off this thing at $500. $200 is what you're gonna wind up selling it for, he said. I said no, I would not sell it for $200 and ended the call. He texted me back incessantly, annoyed me to no end. After the first couple hours, he upped the price to $250. I had a piece of crap prepaid phone. There was no way to block him. Finally, I found a buyer willing to give me $450. I arranged a time to meet up, exchange money, and transfer the title only to have another text conversation with Mr. $200. I'll do $300 on that trooper. Sorry, I just sold it. How much? I'll beat him by 50. It's sold. I've agreed to sell it to someone and I'm not going back on that. I'll give $350. No, the truck is sold. Stop texting me. How much? I sold the truck. It's gone. Okay, but you can tell me how much. $450. I'll do $475. I thought you said no one could make money on this truck at more than $200. Well, yeah, but you seem like a nice kid. I was 37 at the time, and he sounds younger than me. I'm just trying to help you out. Once I sell this truck, I'm turning my phone off for the rest of the weekend. Stop texting me. I actually had to turn my phone off. I've posted this before, but I want to talk about this again and spread the word as much as I can so that everyone knows how dangerous it is to meet someone online, especially on Craigslist. There was this guy I knew from college, and he got like sort of a houseboy from Craiglists, trade rent for sex kind of deal. The houseboy was apparently not too stable mentally, and after getting in a fight over money, he managed to strangle the guy I knew to death with a phone cord, then stole his car and was later caught a few states over. Please be very careful who you're meeting with. Our house was for sale and suddenly appeared on Craigslist for rent by an unknown person. We had people showing up at random hours asking to see the house and driving by, and then calling our realtor wanting to know rental information. It turns out it was a ring of people who would pretend to rent property and take their money. When people would show up to move in, they would discover what they thought was their new home was already lived in. We had to file a police report and post signs on our doors notifying people our home was for sale and the rental listing was a scam. I had an entertainment center advertised, and a woman asked to come over to have a look at it. We set up a time, and when the time came, she didn't show up. I texted her, and a couple hours later she replied and asked if it was too late to come by. It was 10 p.m., but I said okay. She said she would be there in 10 minutes, but wasn't there 20 minutes later, and I texted her again. 10 more minutes, she said, but she hadn't shown up by 11 p.m., so I texted again and said we would have to do it another day, and she replied that she was just pulling up. I go to my front door, and sure enough, she is pulling into the driveway, and there are about 4 or 5 other people in the car with her. They all get out and start walking towards the door, and I ask them what they are doing, and the woman says they all want to see the entertainment center. I tell her that only she can come in, and at that point I wasn't sure Al even wanted her to come in. She says she needs at least one other person's opinion. I say no, she gets indignant, and I ask her to leave, and she says that I am not being a very good Christian. I say I am fine with that and went in my house and locked all the doors, peeking out the window. One of the dudes who was with her is pissing at the end of my driveway, but then they get in the car and drive away. The whole thing was super bizarre. This isn't a horror story at all, but the guy I sold a TV to a couple of years ago pretty much assumed that I was going to murder him and his boyfriend. I got the impression that he thought that I was going to scam him, so I offered drop the TV off at his house, and he could just PayPal me the money. He didn't want me knowing where he lived, so offered to have him pick it up after my daughter's soccer game. Wouldn't do that either because he said lead have too many of my people. So I then switched it to the parking lot of my town's grocery store at 3:30 p.m. Nope. He finally agreed to meet me in front of the town's police station with his boyfriend and two other guys only after he called an officer outside to witness the transaction. The cop told the guy he probably shouldn't be buying stuff on Craigslist anymore. The funny thing was that he brought so many people that the TV wouldn't fit in his car. In 2012, I was trying to sell some video games on Craigslist and got plenty of normal emails inquiring about the condition of the games and stuff. Then I get an email that says, "Hey, smiley face," and there's a dick pic attached to it. The body of the email was like, "Saw your ad for a jack-off partner you like." 30 seconds later, I get another email that says, "Please delete. I'm sorry that was for someone else," followed by, "Please just delete it and pretend this never happened." I didn't reply to any of the emails, just blocked him immediately. My thought is, he was probably browsing around on 2 different tabs and replied to mine on accident. So once I agreed to meet with this guy to buy an Atari Jaguar, I'm a collector. I get to his house at the agreed time, and there's no one there. I send him an email while hanging out in my car, and he says he had to get groceries, but will be back in a few minutes. I decide to sit on the hood of my car and wait. His neighbors walk outside and yell to me, "Hey man, you waiting on Jamal for games or drugs?" "Just games." At this point, I kinda wanted to book it out of there, but he pulled up to the house right as I fumbled with my keys. In all, the guy was a little creepy and was a complete dick to his daughter. His wife seemed nice enough, though. Got the Atari and got the heck out. Roommate subleased his room without telling us. The 3 of us in the house were all around 22 years old. The guy that sublet the room was 36, unemployed, socially awkward, and pothead. He would blare Metallica all day. He would just stay in the house, only leaving at odd hours, really sketchy. Then one day my roommate noticed his guitar was missing, and then other guitar was missing. We confronted him. After about 20 minutes of bullshit excuses, he admitted he pawned them for the power bill and he wouldn't have rent for us. We called the police so we could report the stolen guitars. It turns out he already had a warrant out for his arrest for the same shit a town over. Anyway, the cops confronted him in our house while he was frantically trying to get all his stuff packed. He was coming down the stairs with all his luggage when the cops asked him to step outside. Right before he went outside to talk to the cops, he said, "Don't take any of my shit," in what I think was a joking manner. Either way, he was arrested and we put his shit on the curb. Good times. I got a GTA V for the PS3, but then got a PS4 about 2 weeks later, since I got surprised by an extra large paycheck and had money to blow. So Elle decided to sell my PS3 copy for $40. As soon as I put the listing up, Ella got a text not even 10 minutes later from a guy that he wanted to meet in half an hour to pick it up. I wasn't busy, so I decided to do it. The guy was about 10 years older than me, incredibly skinny to the point of ribs practically showing through his shirt, and had a tic. Anyway, I make the transaction and think that's the end of it. Nope, on my drive home texted me, wanting me to come over to his place and play it with him. I politely decline. He then goes on to text me a novel about his life story and his time serving in Afghanistan and his PTSD and depression. I felt bad for him, but still didn't want to go hang out with a stranger I meet on Craigslist. He then starts asking me when I'd be free to hang out and tries to make plans. I explain politely that I'm not really looking to make friends through Craigslist or anything. He tries calling me. I turn off my phone and go to sleep. I turn it back on in the morning, and Love got 20-something missed calls and over 60 text messages from him, getting increasingly more angry, violent, and threatening as they went along. I installed an app to block his number and that solved it, but for a good wee toot was afraid of accidentally running into him again. Luckily I didn't. Roommate subleased his room without telling us. The three of us in the house were all around 22 years old. The guy that sublet the room was 36, unemployed, socially awkward, and pothead. He would blare Metallica all day. He would just stay in the house, only leaving at odd hours, really sketchy. Then one day my roommate noticed his guitar was missing, and then other guitar was missing. We confronted him. After about 20 minutes of bullshit excuses, he admitted he pawned them for the power bill and he wouldn't have rent for us. We called the police so we could report the stolen guitars. It turns out he already had a warrant out for his arrest for the same shit a town over. Anyway, the cops confronted him in our house while he was frantically trying to get all his stuff packed. He was coming down the stairs with all his luggage when the cops asked him to step outside. Right before he went outside to talk to the cops, he said, "Don't take any of my shit in what I think was a joking manner." Either way, he was arrested and we put his shit on the curb. Good times.